Hello, everyone. If you are sick and tired of climate clowns, gender Nazis, and metaphobes, you have come to the right place. I am the least woke man in America, and you are the never woke nation. A group of people fighting against the meatless, gunless, godless, abortion obsessed, crime ridden hellhole we call Proghelia, the progressive woke left is trying to turn the United States of America into, which, of course, as I always say, you can see miniature, real-time versions of in New York City, in Philadelphia, in San Francisco, in LA, major cities, normally in blue states, attorney generals, normally financed by George Soros, where the average law-abiding citizen has a very, very tough time living day to day. Well, we're going to discuss a lot in this episode. Of course, there's a lot going on. There's the elections. There's the just criminal Biden administration. Well, everything they do is practically criminal because Biden himself is a criminal, the big guy. But the energy policy is just such a joke and a farce. And then we're going to talk about the Ukraine Russia situation and what that's developing into right now. But first, let's start with, and I know this isn't a big story. Well, it's a big story if you're not woke. It's a big story if you're fighting against wokeness like we are. So it might not be all over the mainstream news, but I just think it's huge. A friend of mine sent this to me. At the University of Southern Maine, you got to hear this story. The University of Southern Maine. So there's a professor named Chrissy Hammer, and during a creating a positive learning environment class. Well, first of all, can you imagine? I don't have kids, but writing a check, $50,000, $60,000 a year. Now I don't know how much the University of Southern Maine cost. But it's not $20,000 anymore, I can guarantee that. So whatever they're at, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year in tuition, so your kid can sit through a creating a positive learning environment class. I don't know about you, but some of the best teachers I had were some of the meanest. Not mean in a abusive way, but in a stern type of way. You know what I mean? They didn't take any crap, and because of that, they were respected. Subconsciously, we respect people like that. And they got through the class, and you learn the most. So we didn't need a positive learning environment class. If you're focused on being successful, you don't care about that. Anyway, so this professor, Chrissy Hammer, created an uproar with grad students, of course grad students, by saying there's only two genders. Okay, now, as many of you know, in many podcasts, I go out of my way, even if I'm talking about something completely different, to say one of the only two real genders when I'm talking about a person using a story. Because I just think we have to be so blunt and explicit about that. Like a lot of you, I just have a concern within this country. You have just the 10% that are so nuts, there's nothing there to work with. And those are usually the ones who are the leaders of the wokeness, the leaders of all this nonsense. Then you have like the wishy-washy 60, 70%. Who, if you ask them something about this, like about gender thing, well, it's kind of weird, and I really don't think it's true, and blah, 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 but they don't do anything. And then, there's like the other, 20, 30%, they're like me, like adamant, like, no, I'm not going to sit around and tiptoe around a bunch of freaks. This is ridiculous. There's only two genders. And this isn't something like you and I are these closed-minded people in contemporary times. No. Thousands of years ago, the Aztecs, the Incas, the Mongolians, the ancient Chinese, the Native Americans knew penis, vagina, man, woman. It's only a small group of who in their own self-deceived, self-righteous minds, also very narcissistic minds, who think they've stumbled onto something new here, and there's more than two real genders. And that's why I always emphasize this. Like I've told you before in this podcast, I like to create cover, what I call for the normal people, whether it's the Facebook page or whatever, because I know there's so many people out there like, no, this is all nuts, but they get in certain work environments, like this professor, and you're likely to be bullied. And I know how it's not always cowardice, I guess, when I'm trying for some people. Yes, for some people should speak up in many situations, so it is cowardice. But you get someone who's a tenured at a job somewhere or has been there a while, and maybe they have a sick spouse and kids in college and a elderly parent they need to help out financially. Sometimes they have to bite their tongue. And that's unfortunate because these left-wing people are such black and white volcanic bullies when it comes to anything they believe. they believe. I've never wanted someone censored in my entire life. No one. Have you? I can't think of one conservative person who's ever wanted somebody else censored. I don't want Whoopi Goldberg censored. I don't want Joy Behar censored. I'm sure none of you do either. Bill Maher. Look at all these people, what they've said about Christians and conservatives. I don't want them all censored. So anyway, so this professor makes that statement. And on the day of the class, of course, Elizabeth Leibiger was absent. There's a shock. A gender Nazi was homesick. Amazing. She wouldn't make it to class on September 17th. She heard about it and felt under personal attack, according to the article. So on September 14th, she found out about all this and demanded, listen to this, a restorative justice meeting to be held with the university's School of Education and Human Development. I let her know I didn't think she was qualified to teach a class about positive learning environments because she believed that. So right off the bat, that is so sick that justice now means if you believe something, and you know, all of you who are fighting against wokeness know this, but I just have to reiterate it. They're childish, narcissistic, foolish, not real, embarrassing in as far as the historical meaning of justice. Their idea of justice is you don't believe what I believe, you get wiped off the face of the earth. You get canceled, you lose your job, or you're given a choice. Just like with the communists, you can be re-educated. And that's where that went, is this student actually had the audacity to say, I want her to do some diversity training or at the least just retire. So you are given the choice to either re-educate yourself like the communists used to do or retire. This is sick stuff. Now here is the positive news. This is what's so important. And he'll never get the credit, not just him, but as I mentioned before, with Elon Musk, with Ron DeSantis, with other people around, even Bill Maher, as much as you don't like him, he pounds on the woke people every episode of his show. The university actually stood up for the professor. This is a huge win for all of us. And the president said, are you ready for this? A university that cannot teach facts because students find them too hard to handle is useless as an educational institution. We, the undersigned, ask you at University of Southern Maine President Jacqueline Edmondson, Interim Provost Adam Tuchinski, and Chair of the Teacher Education Department Flynn Ross to stand firmly behind Professor Hammer and issue a public statement to the effect that she will neither be replaced or required to stop stating the fact that sex in humans is binary. So this is a huge deal that people sign this petition and are supporting this professor. They're not backing down. They're not kowtowing. This is a huge deal. And I mean, it's a petition, so their names are right on it. And we need more of this. We need more of this. This country has serious issues. It has serious issues. The country, and frankly, a lot of people in this country have personal issues. And personal issues financially and health, the stuff that's been around forever. And what these bullies do by creating an environment of fear, it's bad enough someone has cancer, or they're having marital problems, or the normal challenges of day-to-day life, raising a family, etc. But for these jerks to come along and create an Stalin-Lenin-esque environment of fear is absolutely unacceptable in the United States of America. And like I said, we will not be dominated by climate clowns, gender Nazis, and metaphobes. It's unacceptable. And thank God for these people for standing up to this. We'll have to see what the president of the university and the others do, or if the professor loses his job. This is worth fighting for. This is a female professor also stating a biological fact.